The U.S. government at work. The U.S. government at work. Focus question. What departments help the president lead the United States and what do they do? Introduction. When a house is built, workers are hired to do special jobs. Carpenters build walls. The roofers construct roofs. Plumbers place pipes. Electricians put in wires. These workers are experts at what they do. They make sure the entire home has systems that work. When the United States became a new nation, it had about 2.5 million people. And just like a house, the new country needed systems that would work well for its citizens. The country's founders knew these. They came up with a way for experts to make and run systems and help the president to run the country. Rules for a new nation. In 1788, American leaders approved the Constitution of the United States. This document outlined ideas and rules to guide how the young country was to be governed. The Constitution divides the government into three branches or parts. The legislative branch. Congress includes the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives. Congress that make laws and represents the country's citizens. The judicial branch is made up of a system of courts. The executive branch, led by the president, manages the day-to-day operations of the country. The founders gave a lot of thought to the role of an elected president. The president would be the chief executive responsible for the nation, a huge job for just one person. Even before he was president, George Washington understood this. He described the impossibility that one man should be able to perform all the great business of the state. The founders knew that throughout history, heads of state often had advisors to help them lead. The Constitution borrowed that idea. It allowed the creation of executive departments headed by expert advisors called secretaries. These advisors form the president's cabinet. They help them make sure the country's system work well for its citizens. The cabinet. By 1788, Congress had established three executive departments. They were the Department of Foreign Affairs, the Department of War, and the Treasury Department. The Office of Attorney General was created in 1789. When George Washington took office in 1789, it was up to him to choose who would lead each department. He sent his choices to the Senate for approval. Washington chose the most qualified men he knew. They came from different regions of the country and had different views. The first cabinet meeting took place in February 1793. Secretary of Foreign Affairs Thomas Jefferson would argue with Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton, like Washington, felt that a strong central government was best. Jefferson was a strong believer in states' rights. In December 1793, Jefferson resigned. Washington learned from his experience. He announced that he would not choose cabinet members who thought differently about how to govern. From then on, the president mostly chose cabinet members who would support their position. This was one of several traditions followed by future presidents. Another tradition is that cabinet members only have one boss, the president. Cabinet members must be approved by the Senate, but they are answerable only to the president. Once approved, Congress cannot fire department secretaries. Only the president can ask a cabinet member to leave. Lastly, cabinet members have no power of their own. They do not share presidential authority. They can give advice, but they must follow the president's directions. The growing needs of a growing country. As the nation grew, so did the size of presidential cabinets. The original departments and offices changed and expanded. More and more experts were appointed to help presidents run the country. Each department has specific responsibilities. The Department of State. The Department of Foreign Affairs became the Department of State. Its main job is to create and maintain good relationships with other countries. Ambassadors and diplomats work within those countries as representatives of the United States. The State Department's main offices are in Washington, D.C. It also has over 300 embassies in more than 190 countries worldwide. The Department of Defense. In 1947, Congress voted to unify the U.S. Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force into a single department. This became the Department of Defense. This department is headquartered at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. The President is the Commander-in-Chief, but the Defense Department manages the military force that protect the nation. It is by far the largest of the cabinet departments with over 1.3 million service personnel and 742,000 civilian employees. The Department of the Treasury. The Department of the Treasury regulates the country's banks. It also collects taxes, prints paper money, and mints coins. Most of the original duties assigned to the Treasury Department in 1789 are still carried out by the department. There have been some changes, however. Matters that have to do with business are now handled by the Department of Commerce. The Department of Justice. The Office of the Attorney General was expanded to a full department in 1870. All legal matters having to do with the executive branch of the federal government are handled by the Justice Department. The Justice Department makes sure federal laws are obeyed. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, U.S. Marshals, and U.S. Attorneys are all part of the Justice Department. This department also manages the country's federal prisons. Like other cabinet departments, the Department of Justice is part of the executive branch. It is not part of the judicial branch. The Justice Department works like a local police force. It applies the law. The courts, however, are part of the judiciary at the federal level. The court's job is to make sure the laws being applied are just. All laws must follow the Constitution. Do you know? Long before there was Google Maps, there was the Department of the Interior. Since 1849, the department's U.S. Geological Survey Agency has mapped features of the country's lands. The Department of the Interior. The Department of the Interior was established in 1849. It's often called the nation's housekeeper. Its main duty is to look after the country's natural resources. The department is also in charge of programs relating to various groups of indigenous peoples. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the National Park Service, NPS, are part of the Department of the Interior. The Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is a branch of the United States Armed Forces that enforces the law on the oceans and seas. It has control over both U.S. and international waters. The Coast Guard was originally made by the Department of the Treasury. In 1967, it became part of the Department of Transportation and is now under the control of the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security was established in 2002. Its mission is to safeguard citizens within the United States border. It is the third largest cabinet department with almost 250,000 workers. The U.S. Coast Guard and the Secret Service are part of this department. These agencies and others work to protect the residents of the United States from all kinds of disasters and harm. As of 2018, 10 other cabinet departments are also involved in running the government. These include the Department of Energy, the Department of Transportation, and the Department of Labor. The secretaries of all departments regularly meet with the President, as does the head of the Environmental Protection Agency. They share information about what is happening in their department and discuss what actions to take. Conclusion. From the original 4 departments, the cabinet has grown. Today, it has over 4 million workers. The growth of the presidential cabinets has helped the United States function as times and the country's needs have changed. What hasn't changed is the importance of the cabinet's role. The experts working